They came wrapped in light, thousands of ships blotting out the stars, their voices echoing across every frequency. Humans of Earth, surrender. Your resistance is mathematically impossible. They didn't know that humanity never cared for math when our hearts were on fire. Midsection build. It began over the Pacific. A ripple in the upper atmosphere shimmered like the northern lights, only brighter, unnatural, orchestrated. Within minutes, the entire planet was watching live feeds of descending alien vessels the size of skyscrapers, their hulls pulsing with cold blue energy. Governments panicked. Networks froze. Satellites blinked out one by one until the world's skies belonged to them. The invaders called themselves the Shah Dominion, a civilization that had supposedly pacified hundreds of worlds. They spoke with chilling calm, promising that humanity's surrender would ensure our preservation. But they didn't understand the species they were speaking to. Inside a bunker beneath Colorado, the remnants of the global defense network huddled around flickering screens. General Abrams, eyes hollow from sleepless days, stared at the alien broadcast. "They think we'll kneel," he muttered. "They've read our history but never our hearts." Around him stood a mix of soldiers, engineers, and civilians, people who'd seen the world end before their eyes and refused to give it away without a scream. The plan wasn't victory. It was vengeance. When the first orbital bombardment hit, it wasn't cities that burned, it was hope itself. New York, Shanghai, Lagos, entire continents went dark. The Shah claimed to be merciful, promising swift integration for those who obeyed. But on the ground, the truth was blood and smoke. And still, humanity didn't surrender. In the ruins of Berlin, a mechanic named Ria Tarlow rebuilt what was left of an anti-aircraft drone, painting across its dented side. Still human. She launched it using scavenged batteries. It lasted 7 minutes before being obliterated, but in those 7 minutes, it downed a Shah scout. That single act lit a flame across the networks of survivors. They started calling themselves the Refusal. The Shah underestimated the speed of human adaptation. What they saw as chaos was our strength, engineers turning household generators into EMP bombs, hackers rewriting alien code using nothing but scavenged tech, medics performing miracles with no supplies and broken tools. Even the children learned, not fear, but defiance. One message spread across the resistance frequencies. "We are not surrendering. We are remembering who we are." The aliens tried psychological warfare next. They flooded communication bands with holographic images of burning cities, screaming captives, the supposed futility of resistance. But the images only hardened our resolve. Humanity's greatest weapon was never its machines, it was its memory. Because in every generation, from every war, from every last stand in our blood-soaked history, one truth remained: we don't stop fighting. From orbit, the Shah observed an inexplicable pattern. Their conquered species always fell silent after the first strike. Humanity, however, grew louder. Stronger. They detected thousands of encrypted transmissions that defied logic, not commands but music. Songs blasting through static-filled frequencies, Beethoven, Tupac, Queen, and the haunting echo of "We'll meet again." The aliens couldn't understand why humans would waste bandwidth on noise during an invasion. They didn't know it wasn't noise. It was defiance, woven into melody. In the silence between bombardments, Ria listened to that music as she soldered alien metal into human armor. Somewhere in orbit, a Shah tactician named Commander Zirkos studied her species' behavior and wrote his first observation report. Human resistance patterns are non-logical. They weaponize emotion. They do not calculate risk. Their probability of victory remains 0. Yet they persist. Cliffhanger ending. And on the 7th day of the invasion, when Earth's skies burned crimson, a single transmission pierced every alien frequency. Not from any government, not from a military channel. It was a human voice, old and steady. "To the invaders above, we heard your offer. This is our answer." Then came a flash across the night sky, a launch from beneath the ice of Antarctica, something the Shah had missed. A human warhead, rising like a phoenix toward orbit. The war for Earth had officially begun. The first human counterattack wasn't strategic. It wasn't clean. It was a scream, launched into the void on a trail of fire and stubborn hope. When the HFY fleet saw the warhead rise from beneath the Antarctic ice, they laughed. They stopped laughing when it hit. Midsection build. The detonation didn't destroy their flagship. It didn't need to. It ripped through their shielding algorithms. Proof that the impossible wasn't quite as impossible as they'd calculated. The blast tore one of their carriers in half, scattering molten debris across the stratosphere. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the HFY lost a ship to a primitive world. The reaction was immediate. Orbital scanners detected human networks reawakening, encrypted with chaotic data patterns no AI could predict. Resistance groups across every continent began operating in sync, not under a central command, but united by something far more unpredictable, the human instinct to fight back. In the ruins of Tokyo, a tech unit called Echo 9 hijacked the HFY communication lattice. In the forests of Brazil, guerrilla fighters weaponized alien drones using salvaged parts and sheer madness. And in orbit, small human satellites, thought destroyed, reactivated, carrying messages of defiance written in binary. General Abrams watched the data streams in disbelief. "They're organizing without orders," he whispered. "We're watching evolution in real time." Across the shattered Earth, every human who could fight did. Those who couldn't fight helped others to fight. And for the first time since the invasion began, alien transmissions showed signs of concern. Commander Zerka stared at his holographic battlefield projections. The human resistance wasn't fighting for victory. They were fighting to make every death meaningful. Every strike, every explosion, every spark of rebellion, all unpredictable. "Their logic is entropy itself," Zerka recorded. "They are war incarnate." Ria Tarlo, the mechanic from Berlin, was now a legend. Her improvised drone design had spread across continents, entire battalions built from her blueprints, forged out of scrap and hope. They were called Tarlos now, swarming units that harassed the invaders from every angle. One of her makeshift drones even managed to infiltrate a downed HFY frigate. Inside, humans found alien reactors still glowing with power, and data cores filled with information. That discovery changed everything. The HFY weren't gods. They were dependent on something called a neural synchronizer, a device linking their command hierarchy to a single control nexus orbiting Saturn's rings. Destroy that, and the entire fleet would fall into chaos. The plan was insane. It required reaching space again, something humanity hadn't done since the bombardment. But insanity was our comfort zone. The call went out through the resistance. "We're taking the war to the stars." Old launch silos were uncovered. Underground hangars that once stored relics of the 21st century were powered back up. Engineers reassembled broken rockets using alien tech scavenged from crash sites. And on the shores of the dead Atlantic, the first hybrid vessel, half human, half alien, was born. They named her the Dawnfire. Ria stood beneath her as plasma engines roared to life for the first time. Her hands trembled, not from fear but from awe. "We used to look up at the stars," she whispered, "and dream. Now we look up and aim." As the Dawnfire prepared for launch, the alien high command debated their next step. Many argued to annihilate the planet completely, to end humanity before their defiance spread. But the HFY's doctrine forbade total planetary extinction. They needed resources, slaves, and genetic material. And that was their mistake. They didn't understand that mercy, to humans, was just time to reload. When the Dawnfire ascended, people across the ruined world watched in silence. From broken cities to underground shelters, they saw a streak of light cut through the clouds, not as a symbol of escape, but revenge. "They said surrender was inevitable," General Abrams said, watching the sky. "They were right. But it won't be ours." The Dawnfire reached low orbit before the HFY realized what it carried. Not missiles. Not bombs. Humans. A boarding team of soldiers, engineers, and one mechanic named Ria Tarlo. Their mission: infiltrate the alien control nexus near Saturn and cripple the Dominion's command grid. Commander Zerka's final observation before losing contact with the orbital relay was simple and chilling. The humans are coming. The first human ship to breach Saturn's orbit wasn't sleek. It wasn't elegant. It was a monster, built from wreckage, scars, and fury. When the dawn fire broke through the planet's shadow, every alien sensor lit up red. Humanity had arrived at the gates of their gods. Midsection build. For centuries, the HFY had believed themselves untouchable. Their command nexus, a colossal ring structure orbiting within Saturn's magnetic field, was protected by layers of plasma shields and an armada of automated sentinels. No species had ever even seen it, much less threatened it. Until now. Inside the Dawnfire's cockpit, Rhea Tarlo stared at the display, alien glyphs flickering across the screens. Their ship's systems were a patchwork of human grit and alien precision, held together by stolen code and stubborn genius. "Target lock established," murmured Lieutenant Vargas beside her. "Once we breach, there's no coming back." Rhea smiled faintly. "Then let's make it worth the trip." The HFY fleet mobilized immediately. Dozens of warships emerged from Saturn's rings, glistening like silver predators. Each one was larger than a human city, their hulls humming with power that could vaporize continents. But the dawn fire didn't turn back. It charged straight through the chaos, engines screaming, shields sparking. Humanity's first space battle in this new war was fought not with fleets or formations, but with madness. The dawn fire darted between debris fields, weaving through enemy fire that painted the void in streaks of blue. Each hit rattled the hull, but the ship endured, patched, scarred, defiant. Inside, the human crew fought not just the aliens, but their own fear. Some prayed, some cursed, some laughed, because laughter, to humans, was rebellion in its purest form. Aboard the alien command ship Vash KL Prime, Commander Zerka watched in disbelief. The humans weren't retreating. They were accelerating. "They are attempting to ram the Nexus," his aide hissed. "No," Zerka said softly. "They intend to enter it." In a maneuver that defied every principle of physics and reason, the dawn fire dove into Saturn's rings, using the dense ice and dust as cover. The alien sentinels couldn't track them through the static interference. When they emerged, they were already within striking distance of the Nexus. Rhea and her team suited up. The docking clamps engaged. The ship's AI, a repurposed alien core nicknamed Echo, announced in a calm, almost human voice. "Warning, boarding this structure will likely result in fatality." Rhea chuckled. "You say that like it's new." They breached the alien ring with cutting torches and explosives forged from starship fuel cells. Inside, they found corridors of silver and light, silent, sterile, perfect. Too perfect. The HFY didn't build for beauty. They built for control. As the team advanced, alien defense drones swarmed like hornets. Human rifles barked fire and thunder through corridors that had never known chaos. Every death was met with another step forward, because retreat wasn't in the mission parameters. They reached the neural synchronizer core, a vast chamber pulsing with energy. Suspended in its center was the heart of the HFY Empire, a living brain the size of a cathedral, its surface covered in thousands of shimmering neural threads. Rhea stood there in silence, awe and disgust warring within her. "This is it," Vargas said. "Their whole chain of command, one mind controlling millions." "Then let's introduce it to ours," Rhea whispered. From her pack, she pulled out a device built from human circuitry and alien components, the Entropy Spike, a viral interface designed by the best hackers Earth had left. It wasn't meant to destroy. It was meant to infect. Rhea connected it to the neural lattice and hesitated for a moment. Her reflection flickered in the alien glass, a tired human face surrounded by the glow of an empire's arrogance. "You wanted our surrender," she said quietly. "Here's the only thing we give freely, chaos." She slammed the spike home. The effect was immediate. The synchronizer convulsed, light bursting across the chamber in violent waves. The connection rippled through the entire fleet, command signals fracturing, orders collapsing into static. HFY ships began firing on each other as their neural links broke down. Across Saturn's orbit, an empire started eating itself alive. Back on the Dawnfire, the AI Echo processed the incoming data flood. "Commander," it said, "they're losing control. The Dominion's coordination is collapsing." Vargas grinned. "Then it's working." But as Rhea and her team turned to retreat, the synchronizer began to repair itself. Alien tendrils of code reached into the ship's systems, trying to assimilate Echo. "Warning," the AI said, voice glitching. "They are learning from me." Rhea froze. The only way to stop it was to trigger the Dawnfire's self-destruct, to wipe every trace of human code before the aliens could absorb it. She stared at the detonator in her hand. "You said we might not make it back," she whispered. "Guess you were right." Rhea pressed the trigger. The Dawnfire exploded in a burst of light brighter than dawn, tearing through the synchronizer core, shattering the HFY's control web. From Earth, astronomers saw a sudden flare in Saturn's orbit, a silent, beautiful bloom of fire. And across the galaxy, alien fleets faltered, disoriented, leaderless. For the first time in recorded history, the HFY Dominion screamed. When the light from Saturn reached Earth's skies, it looked like sunrise, except the sun was on the wrong side of the world. No one knew what had happened out there. They just knew one thing: the alien fleets had gone silent. Midsection build. For 3 days, the skies over Earth were clear. No bombardments. No transmissions. Just silence, the kind that felt heavier than war. Then, the first reports arrived. HFY ships were drifting, pilotless, uncoordinated, firing blindly into the void. Their great fleet, once a symbol of cosmic dominance, was collapsing in on itself. The neural synchronizer was gone. Rhea Tarlow's final act had severed their hive mind. But no one on Earth knew she was dead yet. Across the ravaged planet, humanity rose from the ashes. Resistance networks turned into reconstruction teams. Soldiers became rescuers. Engineers rebuilt radio towers to send one message into space. To any survivors of the human fleet, we're still here. And to the shock of everyone listening, someone answered. A crackling voice emerged over the static. "This is Lieutenant Vargas, aboard the Dawnfire escape pod. Rhea's gone. But her plan worked. The HFY are breaking apart. We're coming home." Cheers erupted in bunkers, in basements, in ruins that had forgotten laughter. Even General Abrams, the man who had sworn never to cry again, couldn't hide his tears. "She did it," he whispered. "The mechanic from Berlin brought gods to their knees." The alien fleet still hovered in orbit, but without the synchronizer, they were confused, like a severed hand trying to remember it once had a body. Some tried to flee, others tried to land. A few even transmitted surrender signals. And that's when humanity made a choice no one expected. They didn't annihilate the aliens. They spoke to them. Through cracked transmitters and jury-rigged satellites, humanity sent out a single broadcast, translated into every known galactic language. "This is Earth. You came here to conquer. You taught us your cruelty. You burned our cities, took our skies. And yet, we live." To every enslaved world hearing this, the HFY are not gods. They can bleed. They can fall. You are not alone anymore. That message spread faster than any weapon. Across the galaxy, colonies that had bowed to the Dominion for centuries began to rise. Rebellions ignited on 1,000 worlds. Even the HFY's vassal races turned their guns inward. In 1 week, humanity, a species that couldn't even unify its own planet, became the spark that shattered an empire stretching across light years. Lieutenant Vargas and his surviving crew finally landed on Earth's battered soil weeks later. He carried with him a fragment of the Dawnfire's hull, a scorched piece of metal with 3 words carved into it by Rhea's hand. "Still human. Always." They buried it where the first alien ship had fallen, under a sky finally free of enemy fire. "She never saw the world she saved," Vargas said softly. "But maybe she knew it would remember her." As the years passed, Earth rebuilt not as a defeated world, but as a symbol. Alien envoys arrived seeking alliances, guidance, protection. They didn't find conquerors. They found teachers. Humanity had learned something deeper than vengeance. That survival wasn't enough. Freedom meant standing up not just for yourself, but for everyone who couldn't. And so began the Terran Accord, a coalition of freed worlds led by a species that had once been written off as primitive, emotional, and hopelessly divided. The name they gave it echoed through every corner of the stars. The Covenant of the Refusal. Because it all began with one word humanity never learned to say quietly: no. Cinematic cliffhanger/emotional closing. Decades later, as Earth's new fleets prepared to venture beyond the solar system, a young pilot stood before the launch window of the first interstellar ship. She wore a small, dented badge recovered from the wreckage of the Dawn Fire. She whispered into the comms, voice trembling with pride. "Ria Tarlo, this one's for you." And as the engines roared to life, the ship rose into the starlit black, cutting through the same silence where humanity had once screamed its defiance. But this time, there was no fear. Only purpose. Because the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. You can break our world. You can take our skies. But you will never take the fight out of humanity. Fire, end of story. Aliens thought humans would surrender. We didn't. HFY, Sci-Fi story.